In the last video we downloaded a couple of commands that didn't currently exist. One was finger, finger didn't exist, and now we installed it, and encrypt, which we installed. Okay, it's in user bin. So let's take a quick look at what we just did. We had a file called original, and then if you run the encrypt command on it, original, we already created it. Do you want to overwrite? You can overwrite it, and enter a passcode. You have to remember this because you need it to decrypt this file. Okay, so here's original.nc. So let's save that original to, let's call it X. Okay, so now let's take a look at how to decrypt. Before we do that, let's take a look at the notes. And although the crypt command does exist and is provided in Linux for backward compatibility, it's usually better these days to use encrypt and mdecrypt. So all of these things are true, but things work a little bit differently from the way things are explained here. This actually does work. So if you have a file called names, you can say crypt and provide the encryption key, take as input names, and then redirect the output to the encrypted file. So we will try that, but first let's go through decrypting a file that we used encrypt for. So man encrypt. Note you have crypt, encrypt, and decrypt. Decrypt is what we will use because we already encrypted that file. Here it is. mdecrypt original.nc. So this original.nc is the encrypted file, and we want to decrypt it. Do you want to overwrite it? Sure. We made a copy just to make sure we don't clobber it. So here is where you need the passcode. So if you don't remember what you entered, this will not work. I'm going to try mine. It worked. It was decrypted. And I'll take a look at the times. So it looks like the original doesn't show you much of a difference, but we know that we saved the original file as X, and that is still available. So you can look at the difference between original and X. There is no difference. Also, you can cat original, this is the original contents of the file, and it's exactly the same as X. Whereas if you try to cat the contents of the encrypted file, you get all this stuff that you cannot read. Okay. So now let's do the same thing with crypt. We'll do crypt, my secret password, cat in the or pipe in the original, or redirect or input from the file original, and call the encrypted version original.encrypted. Okay, so You can see from the messages, there was no error message, but you can see from the messages that crypt actually uses encrypt. So if you are going to use this for encryption, you might as well actually just use encrypt. So let's cat original, no difference, hasn't changed, cat original dot encrypted, and you'll see an encrypted version of the same file, so you can't read it. To decrypt, all we have to do is crypt xyz, pipe in or redirect input from the encrypted file, and get the output into a new file. So here we go, crypt passcode, which is my secret password. Original dot encrypted. I'll put the new decrypted file into original.new, and let's see if this worked. There it is. So although it says standard in was encrypted, what it actually did was decrypt the input, which was already encrypted. So I'm guessing that just from the fact that it didn't really ask whether to encrypt or decrypt, it took a look at the insides of this encrypted file, figured out it was encrypted, and so decided to decrypt it and put the output into original.new. Because once we cat it, we get the same thing as original. We can diff original and original.new. There's no difference. Okay, so we installed Finger. We saw installed crypt, mcrypt, mdecrypt. There are probably a few more files, a few more commands that we can install. Let's check if we have telnet, for example. We do have it, so no need to install that. RCP is actually SCP. RSH is SSH. Rlogin is also SSH, so we don't need that. I'm just looking for commands. Oh, there's one thing that we need, which is compress. So if you want to install this, once again, do not forget to do this, sudo apt get update. We don't need to do this, but if you do it a second time, it'll take just a little bit of time to check everything. Chances are it won't find anything new to install, and it'll be done. And once you do that, you can say sudo apt-get install compress. Oops. Alright, so I'm not sure exactly where. In this case, we may not be able to install compress, but we don't need it. So the book uses compress, but we don't need it. We're going to use a different compression package called gzip. Let's check and make sure it's there. Should be on your live DVD. Yep, it's there. Okay, so that's it for installing some of the commands that are described in the book but not available on the live DVD by default. But as you saw, you can install it using, if you have a network connection, and you're able to use sudo apt-get install, and the particular thing that you want to install is available, then that's all you need.